Hello everyone! I know this new series is going to cover some heavier topics, and it may be hard to listen to, but in each video we'll talk about clear steps we can all take in order to reduce the likelihood of abuse. We'll try our best not to dwell on the sad reality of abuse more than necessary, and the main focus will be to empower adults to limit these terrible situations. Now that we've established that, let's get into today's topic, grooming. There are certain things a predator will do in order to groom a child. Grooming is when someone builds a relationship with a child in order to manipulate, exploit, and abuse them. They start out by targeting a child. Predators typically target children who have perceived vulnerabilities, including emotional neediness, isolation, neglect, a chaotic home life, or a lack of parental oversight. Then the predator will go about gaining the child and the caregiver's trust. They work to gain the trust of parents and caregivers to lower suspicion and gain access to the child. They gain the parents' trust by establishing themselves as a source of attention and support for the parent and even offering assistance with the child. And they gain the child's trust by gathering information about them, getting to know their needs, and always working to fulfill those needs. Once the predator knows what the needs of the child are, they will go on to the next stage, which is filling those needs. They may utilize tactics such as gift giving, flattery, giving money, and meeting other basic needs. They also give increased attention and affection towards their target. The predator knows that children are easy to manipulate and they are also naturally trusting. The next stage is isolating the child. They may also reinforce the relationship by convincing the child that they love and understand the child in a way that others, even their parents, cannot. The predator can start to tell the child that no one cares for them the way that they do, not even their parents. Once all of this has been accomplished, then the predator will go to the next stage, which is sexualizing the relationship. Once emotional dependence and trust have been built, they will progressively sexualize the relationship. This happens through talking, pictures, and creating situations in which nudity may happen, like swimming. The adult exploits the child's natural curiosity and trust, using stimulation to advance the sexual nature of the relationship. The predator will likely offer to teach the child things that they have not learned elsewhere, especially in regards to things of a sexual nature. The last stage is maintaining control. Once sexual abuse is occurring, predators commonly use secrecy, blame, and threats to maintain the child's participation and continued silence. In order to maintain control, perpetrators use emotional manipulation. They make the child believe that they are the only person who can meet their emotional and material needs. The child may feel that the loss of the relationship or the consequences of exposing it will be more damaging and humiliating than continuing the unhealthy relationship. An unfortunately common threat predators make is violence against the victim's family. This creates a sense to the victim that they have to keep quiet in order to protect either their parents or other siblings from being harmed or abused themselves. Now that we've covered the usual tactics used, let's talk about the tools we can use to reduce the likelihood of these evil plans succeeding. Even though the knowledge of how predators work may be troubling, in the end, I hope all of us feel more empowered to help prevent child abuse. As adults, we can set and enforce boundaries within our families. Even if you don't have children, setting boundaries for yourself is still very important for your own well-being and can set a good example for those around you. One major boundary we can practice is the ability to say no. This can help kids feel secure in their own ability to reject unwanted attention and to stand against peer pressure. Children who see you recognize your limits and reject things that make you uncomfortable will grow to be more stable and happy adults, even if they hopefully never face an abusive situation. Be specific with your kids. It doesn't mean you have to get graphic, especially when they're younger. Just tell them about red flags and model how healthy relationships look. For example, tell them directly that they don't have to accept hugs, kisses, or gifts just because it's polite. They can be taught to decline in a polite way. Parents will need to back their children up if the adult in question insists on disregarding the child's wishes. Kids should not be forced to accept physical contact, especially affection. There may be times where this becomes difficult, like younger ones not wanting to leave a store when throwing a tantrum, or them refusing to get dressed for school, but there are many methods to disciplining these behaviors in ways that maintain respect for the child's ability to choose. Explaining clearly what situations are never appropriate is a good way to help them recognize bad behavior from adults. We need to go beyond the idea of good versus bad touch, which is sometimes taught. Not all molestation physically hurts, and arousal is an uncontrollable physical response which may be confusing to a child, and they may not see the need to tell. They may even feel ashamed for having those feelings. Children can be very literal, so be clear in explaining that there are certain times when a parent, grandparent, or even babysitter may need to help them using the potty or for bath time, but it should be limited to wiping, cleaning, or helping with clothes. There are certain things that would never be okay. Let your child know, for example, in an age-appropriate way, that it's never okay for an adult to ask a child to touch the adult's private parts. There's no situation where this would be necessary, and therefore explaining this to them won't lead to a misinterpretation of a normal behavior. These conversations alone are not enough, considering that most abuse victims are age 6 or younger, and they can't be expected to resist, but we should equip them as well as we can anyway. Like it or not, there will be times when we are not physically there to protect them, and it will make it easier for them to tell you if something happens. Creating clear family rules can help during those occasions when we're away. Avoiding sleepovers is a great rule to have, for instance. Also, limit the amount of time your child is alone with one adult or teenager. Yes, unfortunately, this includes female babysitters as well. Make sure you know a person's history before allowing them to watch your children. Be willing to drop in unexpectedly to get a realistic sense of how they're being cared for. I want to share a couple more tools before we end the video. I really liked one tip I found during my research. The article suggested setting up a support system of 3 to 5 people that children can talk to if abuse does occur, parents included. As much as we would like to believe that children would come to their parents first, it's not always the case. So try to find a couple other adults you trust and ask them if they'd be willing to be in this system. Let your children know that they can ask those people for help too. Make sure that they understand that you will have to be involved at some point, but it just gives them time and space to process, as well as giving them an advocate if they can't handle talking to you directly for whatever reason. I also want to point out that the internet is not a safe place. Even in the most innocent moments, children can stumble upon violence, pornographic material, and even adults seeking to victimize them. We must be vigilant in protecting them. This can include having parental controls and safe filters, not allowing children to bring devices into bedrooms or bathrooms, and talking to them about what to do if they encounter these things. We can go in depth on internet safety in a future video. Lastly, most children like to be a part of safety planning. Try to include them in the process where reasonable, but don't let them negotiate too much. Explain that the non-negotiable rules are in place to keep them safe. I hope we all learned something new today, and that we will walk away feeling confident in our individual roles in protecting children. We can stand between our precious little ones and those who would seek to harm them. Together, we can make the world a better place for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and if there are any topics we covered that you'd like to see expanded, let us know in the comments. See you next time. Bye.